And I'm going to live stream. Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello,
Live stream to
welcome.
Facebook.
We're just setting
Not
things up
there
here.
yet, but we're going to get there. Live.
Slowly but surely. It's a slow countdown.
It is a slow countdown, and we are live.
We are live. We're definitely live.
Yes.
All
All
right.
right. So you get to
Good
start things
evening,
off.
everyone. We are so excited this evening to have Juanita Austin with us for another candid conversation about systemic racism. So we are just going to go ahead and start in. For us, all land, or not just for us, for everyone, all land is indigenous land. It can be really easy to go about our daily lives and forget that all of us are on indigenous land. And we had someone on the webinar that reminded of that to us, and we continue to do that. So, I'm a runner. I go out and run, I hike, and it can be so easy to forget whose land this is. So as a reminder, again, all land is indigenous land. And for us here in this webinar, everyone's welcome. All races, all genders, all cultures, all abilities, sexual orientations. Everyone is valued, heard, accepted, and welcomed here. And we, this space is meant to be, it's not a comfortable space because these are really difficult topics. But it is a space where people can speak and where our panelists, our guests are here to speak. And when we say that, we're here to listen to our panelists, not to argue with them. Their experiences is their own experience, and they're here to share that with us. They're also here not to educate white people. We can go out and Google stuff and read stuff and look at all different resources, which you'll get at the end of the webinar, a whole list of different resources. There are podcasts out there, there are books, there are articles. So you can educate yourself. Our panelists are here to really share what's on their heart, what's in their mind, what they feel like sharing in this moment, whatever comes to them. And we're here to connect, to listen, to be open to what we're hearing. And through that, you'll end up learning on that. And yes.
Yeah, thank you. So we created this webinar 3 years ago, just after the murder, let's be real, the murder of George Floyd. And it is to engage in honest and authentic conversations about the longtime injustice of racism in America. And frankly, there's a lot of racism all over the world. During the webinars, we discuss systemic racism in an effort to dismantle white supremacy, otherwise known as white crimes, white violence, white hatred, from the inside out. And what I mean by that is, we learn to connect with the hearts of the people who show up here, from the Black and brown people of color communities, to really hear their own experiences, which we cannot argue with. We cannot disagree with another person's feelings and experiences. Our intention is for this webinar for us is to participate in sustainable action and highlight the voices of BIPOC community members, giving them a safe space to be heard about their experiences, challenges, and hopes, without, as Jody mentioned, the need to educate white people, but also to provide resources to folks who want to be more active and learned participants, so that you can self-educate towards being more active in this social justice movement. So with that, I'll just say I'm Misha Safran, and I am a professional certified credentialed life coach, as well as trainer, leadership development in the areas of inclusion and belonging, centering empathy and emotional intelligence. I work with organizations, specifically nonprofits, who struggle with trying to, nonprofits have good hearts. They got a lot they're doing, trying to make the world a better place, but sometimes toxicity kind of runs wild. So working on nurturing healthy and positive, sustainable relationships. I was a teacher for 30 years. I have had more advantages than some and less advantages than others. I don't label myself a color because I feel like there's colorism just as much as there's racism. And that has been an ever evolving over the last 3 years of doing this webinar, really identifying who am I in this world. I've also I've had discrimination more than some and less than others as well. So that's me, and I'm glad to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm Jody Lewis. I am an attorney. I work for a nonprofit organization and have worked for currently and in the past with survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, dating violence, stalking, and gender-based violence. The webinar is so important to me, and I'm so grateful that Misha started this and then asked me to co-facilitate it with her, because as a Caucasian white woman, I recognize that I have had, just merely because of my ancestors and the color of our skin, benefits that others have not had. And for a long time, I lived in what I call my white bubble, and lived in predominantly white areas, and wasn't aware of my own biases and racisms that have come in through just living in the society we live in, and just unaware generally because I had advantages of where I was living. So my goal is to continually educate myself and learn more, and connect with others and learn to value and see people as they are in this universe, because we're all humans, we all deserve equal rights and to be here. And now I get the honor of introducing our panelists, Juanita Austin. We're so excited to have Juanita here with us this evening. Juanita was born and raised on the outskirts of Richmond, Virginia. She was born and raised in a Baptist Christian household where she was taught to love all people and, most importantly, respect her elders. As a Black woman, she's very much aware that racism never went anywhere, but the day that she heard about how Ahmaud Arbery was gunned down because he was jogging, then seeing the life of George Floyd leave him, did it for her. And then she found out about Breonna Taylor's murder after witnessing Mr. George Floyd's murder. Some of the people that she had attended church with for over 8 years by now start to show their true colors, which wasn't pretty from where she was sitting. So she created a platform that's called Black Wall Street Online, where she promotes Black-owned businesses. And then a quote that she gave to remember is that every colored person ain't dumb and all whites aren't racist. And that was Little Baby. And we're so excited to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Welcome, Juanita.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for having this platform for people like myself and and of course the BIPOC community to come and speak. So I did want to share a little bit of my thoughts first, and I did write them out because I want to share my intentions for sharing my story. So I speak my truth as an unapologetically Black woman that was born and raised in the Baptist Christian faith. Please note that I do not speak for all Black people. I want it to be known to those that honestly believe that Black people don't think, and we have the right to speak about anything that we may disagree with, but we all do have our own thoughts. So that's one thing that I see so many people do is like, well, one Black person speaks for all Black people, and that is not true. Like Jody said at the beginning, I'm very much aware that systemic racism has always existed, but I never knew to see it outright in a church that I was active in 2020. If you know me personally, I ask of you not to mention any names or places that I may be speaking of, because me doing this talk tonight is not to throw judgment against the people or the places. That's not what I'm here to do. I want to speak to those that have been hurt or affected by someone like myself that would say, if you don't think like I do, or you don't believe in Christianity, that you're going to hell. I am very blunt and I am honest. And I want you to know that your truth is just as important as mine. And I first want to start off with, for me, as a Christian person that raised in that cycle, I want to apologize to those that we say, you're gay, you're a lesbian, you do drugs, or you do this or that, or whatever it may be, I want you to know that you are just as much as a gift to anyone, just like I am. Regardless if you believe in Christianity, you're a Muslim, whatever it may be. We all speak or have a higher calling. And my calling is not, I can't say to, I'm just going to say Misha and Jody here. I can't say to them, because you don't think like me or believe like me, you're going to hell. That's contradicting. So a little backstory. I had 2 children out of wedlock, and forgive me if I get kind of teary-eyed, because this is my life. I go through this. I had 2 children out of wedlock, and the Baptist church at that time that I attended told me what I wanted to usher that I couldn't, because I had 2 children out of wedlock. And I was baffled, because I knew that I was a child of God, and he placed me here for a reason. Just a little snippet. Before I had my first child out of wedlock, I fell asleep behind a wheel of a car that I was driving. And it was like 2 a.m. in the morning. And I slept for at least a mile. And I was in such of a deep sleep that I could hear someone say, "Juanita, wake up. Juanita, wake up." And as I'm still sitting, I know I was still sleeping. I said, I don't remember getting home. I don't remember getting out of my car. And then that's when I woke up. And when I woke up, all I saw was trees in front of me. And maybe a little less than a mile ahead, the bridge was out. They were doing road construction. And I knew that. And I'm not a person that swims. And when I woke up, I was young. I overcorrected. I didn't hit the trees, but I went into like a ditch in the median. And being young and ignorant, I had the long nails, and this is when the phones were in the packages, in the phone cases. I had one of those. So if you're young, you might want to Google that, because but I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I've wrecked my car. And then I looked at my nails, I was like, I didn't break a nail. Okay, I'm just that oblivious. And I'm like, there's a dam like right here, not that far from me. That's what I'm thinking about, my nails. And I'm like, I've got to call my dad. But that morning, I realized that I showed my dad where I was after he took me to the patient first, whatever. And I told him, I said, well, let me show you where I had this accident. So we go down the highway that I was on. And I get up there and I said, okay, Dad, it was over here. And I remember seeing a guardrail, okay? And I wish I had the picture. I have the picture somewhere of my car. On the passenger side, there's nothing but a guardrail mark going down the side. And this is maybe about 4 or 5 hours later after my accident. So I get out there and I said, Dad, I know this is where I hit. And he said, Juanita, there's no guardrails out here. And he said, I don't think VDOT came out and pulled out guardrails within 3 to 4 hours. That's what I know it was here. Needless to say, after that, I had my first son. I was not married. So in my head, from what I've been told as a young child, you can't have children out of wedlock or you're going to hell. But for me, I was like, well, why did God save me if I was already committing sin? So I had my 2 sons, and, with the church, I wanted to become an usher. And I wanted to usher people into the church because, number one, I couldn't sing. I think I can sing, but I knew I couldn't. So I didn't want to do God that bad. But I could greet people that was coming in, because I knew in my darkest times that God was there. I didn't want other people giving up on God, because we all make mistakes. It's up to us to choose the path that we want to take. And I meditated on 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. And just in case some of you may not read the Bible, which is fine, I just want to read you that snippet. It says, and to Misha and to you, Jody, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, always hope, and always perseveres. I live by that, because I'm one of those people that I see love for what it is. I mean, I know you ladies are white, but you're women, right? You're people. That's what matters. And needless to say, I was still in a, I want to say, caught up in the whirlwind of the faith that I was in. And then Ephesians 6:12. And I don't know if anybody is a person that reads the Bible, but again, just in case you don't, this is another part of scripture that has stuck with me for the longest of times. And it still comes to me. Ephesians 6:12. And I think I mentioned this to you ladies. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. One thing Christianity taught me was that we were always right. Every other religion is wrong. I couldn't see it, because why? I conversated with people that were Muslims, conversated with people that were white. I'm Black, so I definitely conversate with people that's Black. Hispanics, love them to death. I mean, so you're telling me that I can't talk to them because of the way they feel, the way they think? So when I saw this, I felt the hypocrisy that the particular church that I had left. Our next church, I prayed for it. I wanted to see all cultures. I wanted to grow more in the word. And long story short, my God guided me to a church that I had prayed for. I met so many wonderful people. I was able to serve before I was an actual member. I was amazed. I couldn't believe that this church was more accepting of my flaws. I got a full understanding of tithing. And in my private conversations with God, I promised to tithe 10% regardless of my pay. God kept his promise, and I meant I was going to keep mine with him. And if anyone wants to know what that promise is, you're more than welcome to ask me towards the end. I'll be glad to tell you. But I know whose I am. I shared a little backstory because I was deep in church and I was very active. So fast forward to 2020, my pastor at the time, around the end of 2019, he prophesied that 2020 was going to be the year of vision. I thought, oh, okay, we're going to have another place, another campus, another whatever you want to call it. That's how I was thinking. And then COVID happened. We had people losing their loved ones during COVID. They couldn't attend their services, those type of things, that kind of stuff. I had started educating myself about African history And in between, educating myself on Native American history as well, because these subjects aren't taught in school, in public schools. Let me say that, public schools. So, which they should have been, but they weren't. So to those of you that say the schools are teaching your kids to hate themselves is a lie. So it's not, a lot of people fear the African history, Native history. And I want to say this. Your child is much smarter than what you think they are. These kids are not stupid. And they know that no one else blamed them for the past of their ancestors, because we all have ancestors, right? These kids know that. So that is one of many systemic racism that is continuing to today. If you're offended by what I said, but you're watching this video, great. Educate yourself and do the research. Just like Jody said, research. There's so much information out there. But you have to get information from the people that is putting it out there, not someone else outside of our culture. So for months, I've been educating myself. Then one day I heard about a young man just on a morning jog was literally murdered while running. These individuals tried to say that he was looking into a home that was either being built or being remodeled. I really don't remember. But all I could do was reflect on the many times I would go into homes as a child as the home was being built or constructed in some type of way. And then I would go back home and I would draw layouts of a house I had in my vision. So when I heard that really hurt me. That murder bothered me because I have 4 amazing sons and a husband that I love. And I don't even want to think about my sons walking anywhere than having to receive a call like Ahmad's mom and dad did. A woman from my women's Bible group or Bible study that I was in, she felt the need to reach out to me. I called her back because I respected her. And when she prayed, it reminded me of my auntie. My auntie, I share with you ladies, she is she labels it Pentecostal, but when she prays, oh my God, she prayed a headache away from me. So that's how she prays. But when I called her back, this particular lady that I went to Bible study with, to tell her how I felt about what had happened and how it affected me, she proceeded to tell me that my children were meant to be sacrifices. I could not believe what I was hearing. She felt the need to also say to me how she knows how I must feel because she dated a Black guy. I was done. I was floored. It probably took me at least 2 days, no more than 3, when I sent her a private message on Facebook. And I referred her to the Good Samaritan. I don't know if anyone knows about the Good Samaritan, but this is the last scripture that I'm going to share with you all. It's Luke 10:30-36. And just in case you do not have a Bible, it's a short little story. So we all know who Jesus is, regardless if you're Christian or not. I know y'all probably heard it or been shoved down your throat some kind of way. So we all know who Jesus is. So Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road. And when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. Okay. But so too, a Levite, when he came to a place and saw him, he passed him on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. And I'll stop right there. what that scripture is saying is a priest. We all know who priests are. They preach, blah, 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 blah. Then the Levites are like the deacons of the church, people of the church, those kind of things. When they saw the issue, they're like, oh, not my issue. I'm coming over here. That's what they did. So I called her out on it. And I said, you acted as a Levite or priest when I needed you. You did not want to see what I was saying to you. So you chose to come over to the other side. Yeah. So that's basically what I told her. With other, I mean, it was a huge church that I attended. It was like in the thousands. Probably about 90% of the church that I was so active in did not want to hear anything I wanted to say. I had people call me and try to tell me about my Black life. I could not believe it. And I sat there and I said, you say God created all people. But when it comes to someone that is speaking against something that is bothering them, and just because it doesn't fit your category, it's a problem. That's not right. And ladies, I became a hermit. And I spent more time with God than I ever did. I thought before I got on his nerves, but I know I got on his nerves because I needed the spiritual guidance. And with Ephesians 6, it talks about spirituality. That is something that's never been taught on or taught at any church that I attended. If they spoke about it, they read it and it kept going. No, I need you to break that down. You tell me about the sins. You tell me about this and that, but you never talk about spirituality. How many of us have been in a situation, regardless of our skin color? You may walk through a room and you smell a scent of a parent. Anything. There's something there. When, as a Black person that goes to church, when we have our funerals and things like that, my mom would always say, where their spirit isn't there anymore, their body is a shell. Okay, Mom. So where did the spirit go? My mom would say, look, you're asking too many questions. Just go with what I tell you. But I was that child. It didn't make sense to me. If God is so great, how can you understand him? Answer that question. So went on from that one. And then there was another point of time when I went to talk to someone else that I truly respected. And when I talked to her, it was as if I was sharing with her about Charlottesville, what happened with Charlottesville, Virginia. I have family in Charlottesville. And when I saw what had happened to that mother that lost her daughter because of this people just being just ignorant to 1,000%. I called my cousin and I said, I don't know where you are, but I need y'all to stay at home. I said, these people are crazy. Not one time did anyone in the church ask, does anyone need prayer? I remember so many times sitting in the church and they were asked for us to extend our hands to, I don't know, someone that's getting ready to go for surgery, someone that's, and their prayer, it's important too. But what about others? We've been overlooked. But when I went to talk to them, they was, they didn't even ask, how are you feeling? And they made one comment and they said, well, there's good people on both sides. And I tried to wrap my brain around that. How are there good people on both sides? There's a good and a bad. But I saw what they were doing. They were looking at color. I wasn't looking at color. I was looking at the person. So you could be whatever color you want to be. You could be on the good or the bad. There is no in between. And when I mentioned to them about, it was an individual documentary, and I'll say this, because I don't want us to get pinged for nothing, but it starts with an N. But the name of the documentary was Immigration Nation. And I watched it. I was pissed of how people was treated, because of course I know how that feels. And the person made a comment to me and they said, well, there's laws. I said, there's laws? I said, if you had watched Immigration Nation, you would have seen that the majority of those individuals went the right way, but they were turned around. You have people running from being murdered, but you want to throw it, you want to do what you want to do, that kind of thing. I don't want to get too deep into that, but that is what it threw me. And I said to them, I said, well, Jesus was an immigrant. His parents took him over the border. Glad you wasn't there, because you would have sent him back because of the laws. So that was it. But what really took the cake was George Floyd, May 25th. And I sat there in awe, just like probably 90% of the world. And I couldn't believe it. After watching that, I started to pray, and I said, God, as a Black woman, there are too many Black-owned businesses out here where, again, systematically, they are being placed in certain areas. You could be wherever you want to be in the US, but it's strategically done. And I wanted to be that area to help Black businesses grow. And I'm not gonna lie to you ladies, I was pissed. I didn't want no white people. I didn't want no Hispanic. I didn't want nobody. And I will tell you this, God said, oh, so you want to be just like the people that you were just talking about? He said, did you forget that you got a cousin that's not your skin color, that's not your culture? Did you forget that you have a family member that's lesbian, that's gay? Did you forget that you have a family member that's Buddhist? So you just want to write them off? And I was like, no, I don't. He said, okay then. So after my prayer, I also asked God, I said, show me what I need to do. And the next video that came up after I had kind of got out of it was on Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ladies, I was 45 years old. I had never heard of Black Wall Street. Again, systematically not taught in public schools.
That's
Well,
right.
that's what I went into. I don't know about you ladies, but
Okay. No.
so I was like, you tell me that in 1920, they had banks, they had hospitals, schools, libraries, all of these things?
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I said, so what we gonna do? I'm talking to him just like I'm talking to you guys. What we gonna do? You gotta show me. He said, okay, just do it. But you cannot exclude other people. I said, but okay, but I want them to know the true meaning behind Black Wall Street. We're in 2020. We don't have to repeat what they had to do in 1921. They had no other choice. They didn't have Mishas and Jodis. If they did, they wasn't like you ladies. They were quiet. We don't have that now. We have you ladies in 2020, 2023. We have you ladies. We have people that are not only Black, we have people that are speaking up, that is, sharing the truth of what is really going on. And even with Jody, what you said earlier about we are on indigenous land. This land was stolen, but they don't talk about that. But of course, when you go to public schools, okay, this what my answer is supposed to be, so I can get an A+. Okay, cool. But that's not what happened. I not only shed tears as a Black woman, I shed tears for the natives. It's crazy. But if we want to really truly come together, I said, this is what we can do. Let's promote businesses. Let's promote businesses that are there for one another. And we just grow from there. No, we're not just Black people anymore. We're Black, we're white. We have gays, lesbians, people that have been in prison, drug addicts, whatever you want to call it. We're not perfect people. So I want to share with anyone that's listening, if you've ever been told something by a Christian and it hurt you in some type of way, I just want you to know that you too have a gift. You have a gift. Don't allow anyone to silence your gift, especially if it's something positive towards humanity. And that's all I have. I mean, that is my story. That is what affected me the most, was George Floyd. And I saw people on my feed when he was a drug addict. What the hell that guy, excuse my language for those of you that's really rolling with Christianity. But I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? We all have some type of addiction. It may not be drugs, it may not be alcohol, but that was not any reason for this man to be murdered. Not even Ahmaud Arbery. I didn't even find out about Breonna Taylor until after George Floyd. And then I had the people in the church. My son was in the middle school. And he said, Mom, a kid in our middle school group had asked the leading pastor, well, why did the police shoot Breonna? And the pastor came back and said, well, she was living with a man that she wasn't married to. And I'm like, really? That's what you do? Yeah, but I just want to say thank you to you ladies for allowing me the opportunity to speak, to share my truth, to share my experience, and to hopefully speak to someone that have been on the receiving end like me. You don't have to be Black, whatever it may be. You just have to trust in yourself and believe in yourself. And don't think that you're not worthy, because you are. I have children. I pray for these kids that their parents are disowning them because they coming out of the closet. I'm gonna tell you, if I had a 20-bedroom home, I would have all those kids in my house. I would mess up their names. I'm gonna tell you that, because I have can't get their names right, not once. But I tell you what, you will have to come through hell and high water to get to them kids, because these kids, they are reaching out, and for a parent to disown their child because this is what their child wants to go is wrong. That's that child's life. And that's how I see it. So that's just me.
Thank
Hope I
you.
didn't take up too much of your time, so I'm so sorry.
No, this is your time. You have 20 more minutes even. I do want to, I just want to, first of all, say thank you for trusting us. And I mean, here we are live streaming on Facebook, and we did say at the beginning of the webinar, like, this is Juanita's experience and nobody can argue with your experience or negate it. And yet it takes a lot of courage to share these experiences. And I think that the story you told us today, which you told us also when we saw you last, about your people are supposed to be sacrificed, that shot through me like a pain, like a really sharp pain. And this is, the topic that you brought forth hasn't been discussed on our webinar, in the sense of how does religion steer people towards hate, not love, right? How is systemic racism a part of religion? Mm-hmm. And it's not to say anybody out there who has a good heart, who serves the community, who really loves. We're not talking about you folks. We're talking about the religion that, what Juanita's sharing is the religion that shuts people down, pushes people away. Because honestly, when looking at all that scripture, there's nothing in the Torah, in the Quran, in the Bible, in I forgot the Buddhist book that says hate thy neighbor, that says kill thy neighbor. It doesn't talk. I've never seen anything say that. And yet we have people who are on the far extreme, just like in our country with politics.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just no, your people are not supposed to be sacrificed. No, children who come out as gay are not. It's not because people are teaching them to be gay, right? So I'm with you 150%. And I will say though, I can never, ever, ever understand from your feet that you walk what you're going through. And I will never pretend to say, oh yeah, I get you, sister. Mm-hmm. I love you because you're a human that has a good heart, but I can't say I know exactly what you're talking about because I have not lived your experiences, just like you or anybody else can't say that about my experiences.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. And that is so true. So
Thank
true.
you. Thank you for being here with us. I know Jody, you had something to say. I'll shut up now.
I also want to thank you. And I think that, as Misha was saying, we haven't had someone come on and talk about religion and their experience in the church. And I think that, for me, it just goes to how systemic racism infiltrates every single system within our society, and how the characteristics of a white supremacy culture infiltrate every single sector of our society. I mean, I've worked nonprofit, and it's in there because we have these characteristics that are just embedded in all of us. It doesn't matter what color we are or where we're from. It's in all of us because of the culture in this country, and because we've never have recognized it. We sweep it under the rug, and there's been no reparations or anything. And in doing that, we're not addressing it, or we're not confronting it, we're not talking about it. And it just continues to grow and perpetuate.
And just for those of you that came in late, we define white supremacy as white violence, white crimes, white hate. Mm-hmm. And so while there's a lot of beautiful things in the church, in the synagogue, in the mosque, in the temple of the Buddhists, and et cetera, infiltration of white supremacy is white violence, white crimes, white hate, is from what we're sharing.
Yeah. And I know we talked about this when we met with you before, and it every time I hear a panelist and heard your story again, and as I'm doing more and more reading, is that every time, like Black Wall Street, every time Black Americans make progress, this society, we, my ancestors, whites, do something to take it away.
Mhm.
You know, and I think the first name's Heather McGee wrote a book regarding zero sum, and it's this idea that this country, it's either +1 or -1, right? We, instead of working together and seeing that when you secede, I secede as well. We both get benefits of it regarding instead of us, I take and you not get that piece, and we hurt one another doing it. And the story that she tells in a thing, and I always come back to it, is you know, there was a community that instead of keeping the community pool, when it became desegregated, they just shut down the pool. So no one benefited of the pool because whites can't deal with that, right? Instead of saying we all get the benefit, whites just take it away. And that just keeps coming up in everything webinar we've had. And I think with your story with the church, it came up for me as well. Yeah, I have a lot of other stuff, but I'll stop there as well. I don't know if anyone either on Facebook or that's attending the webinar here with us, if you have a question. And again, Juanita gets to choose whether to answer or not, but if you do have a question or if a comment or anything you want to put in the chat to share, please do so. And Juanita, I don't know if anything came up for you as Misha and I were speaking.
Well, I know you mentioned whites, so I do want to be very clear. Not all whites.
Yes.
Right? Not all whites. Yeah, because not all whites are racist. And I do want to say this, I did write it down, but I forgot to share it. Was we have different definitions for certain things.
Yeah.
Racism is one of them. And again, I don't speak for all Black people. I speak for me. Racism is the system. And that's what the majority of us is speaking of when we say, oh, okay, that's racist. That's what we say. But we're speaking of a system. And I noticed from some of those individuals that I attended church with, it was a quick comeback. Well, I'm not racist. Okay, so now you flipped it into a skin thing. I'm not talking about skin. I'm talking of a system, but you're speaking of skin. So that just shows, and I don't, again, I'm gonna keep it very blunt. That just shows the ignorance and what it is, where you're getting your information from, because you're not going to a Black person and having a conversation or doing your due diligence in researching. You're going by what someone has told you. Because a lot of the times when we speak of, okay, that's racist, we're speaking of a system. Because that, and I say this again, my intentions of just speaking is because there are so many people, white people or non-Black people, whatever we want to call it, where they say, well, I want to know what's going on. I want to have a genuine conversation with someone, but I don't know who to talk to. And they're out there. They truly are. But who do they go to? They can't go to their church. They're white. They're going to go to a white pastor. Hey, who can I talk to about, Blacks and things? And then they're going to turn around and send you to somebody else white. They can't speak for us. They can't speak for me. Like you said, Misha, you can love me, but you can't speak from my feet. And I can't speak from yours. It's too much in this world that people that love have to deal with. And, I just want people to know that there is someone that understands. And I'm very honest. You know, and if it's something that I've never experienced, I can't speak on it. I can't speak on it. I can talk to you about, being with someone that did drugs, and that person had a heart of gold. He would give the shirt off his back. I can speak to you about alcoholics. These individuals are using their outlet is just something that's a little bit more dangerous versus someone that likes to eat chips, or whatever. Everybody has an outlet, but everybody has a gift. So yeah. But I'm here, just, I'm just going to be honest. And I want people to be genuine, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, if they want to ask any questions, I'm more.
So there is a comment in the chat, but I think it went to hosts and panelists and not to everyone, which is fine. Thank you so much for the comment, Deborah. The foundational ideology of America is white supremacy. All of us in America, regardless of skin tone, are raised in this ideology, which infiltrates all the systems, right? And I added that piece. So white supremacy, I don't want to misquote you, Deborah. White supremacy will exist until white people give it up. It is not up to Black people.
That is true.
Very true.
That is true. I totally agree. And the thing is, again, I'm speaking on from the religion aspect because I lived and breathed it. You speak of greed. That's what greed is. I want, gimme. I can give to them during Christmas and Thanksgiving and then write it off on my taxes. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
No. Greed. But it has infiltrated everything, even our minds. And I'm not just speaking from a Black person, but this is stuff that we have to, I put it this way. When I was going through my conversations in my prayer, God said to me, he said, Juanita, think about this. When those enslaved people came over in the ship, were brought over in the ship, let me say that, what did they have? Did they have a book? No. So where did the Bible come from? Where did any of it come from? So he said, I need you to reprogram yourself. I need you, just like a computer, a hard drive, you need to clear your hard drive and you need to start over. And when you feel yourself going back into that default, you have to catch yourself. So even if you're not Christian, you could be, I don't know, Muslim, you could be whatever you are. And if you're somewhat beating yourself up because you're like, somewhat like me, and you're going through something, you have to reset. And in everything that you were programmed to believe and to do, you need to reset and ask yourself why. Because for me, not just these two women, but just because they're in front of me, these two women, I can see that they're loving. Even the people that I know, they're loving. So you're going to tell me, because we all know white supremacy has infiltrated the system. So you're going to tell me I'm supposed to hate all white people. No, that's kind of hypocritical to me. Because then I'm going to have to just out some of my family members. It's just, it doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's not all of anybody, it's like there are people who hate and there are people who love. And there are people of different races and religions that hate, and there are people of different races and religions that love. There are people of different social economic statuses that hate, there are people that love. So, there's not one that represents a whole, right? And so I want to kind of go back to something you said a little bit earlier, which is that people who, want to understand, well, it's, or you said people who understand, right? Who are willing to understand. And I
Yeah.
think it's also people who are willing to learn more. Like
Mhm.
this whole idea of connection. Cesar Chavez said, one person talks to one person, who talks to one person, who talks to one person. It's connection.
It's
And the more we connect, the more people can see each other
Mhm.
and hear each other and thus love each other.
Yeah.
Instead of being so afraid and threatened by one another.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and I think about these young people, and I'm so sorry, I forgot his Tyree. He was shot by the man on the porch because he went to the wrong house.
Yeah. I've heard of the story. Yeah.
If the man had just, and I said this in the last webinar, if the man had just said, who's there? And he had said his name, what do you want? I'm here to pick up my brothers. Sorry, your brothers don't live here.
Mhm.
End of story. He would have walked up and not have been in the hospital.
Mhm.
But he didn't take the, sorry, I was blocking your face. He was not taking the time to connect, to learn. So assumptions rather than accusations, empathy rather than, assumptions.
Mhm.
But it's like this vicious circle of hatred and fear that drives people. And you're right, it's not all white people. It's not all Black people. Like we talked about earlier when we were having our 3 conversations about us, the other's Black on Black crime. And guess what? There's white on white crime. And guess what? There's Asian on Asian crime. And guess what? There's Jewish on Jewish crime. And guess what? There's Christian on Christian crime.
Mhm.
Because there are people that don't like people.
Yep.
I mean, there's just, and people who are scared and people who act out. I'm learning myself how to be an actor, not a reactor. I get upset.
Mhm.
Right? So anyways, I just noticed the time. I want you to be able to talk about your business because we love what you're doing. And we said that we would offer you. So all our panelists, those of you who are on Facebook, YouTube, in here, and we give we don't take anyone's time for granted. Our panelists come on here and get a choice. They can either have a stipend, they can either have us donate their stipend to a charity, or we can promote their business. And I love what Juanita's doing. We love what Juanita's doing. So Juanita, please tell everybody how they can find you, what it is, what it does. And yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Awesome. Thank you. So you can find me on Instagram. And that's Black Wall Street Online LLC. And what we do is we help promote big entrepreneurs worldwide. That is our goal. We also ask that for you to be a member of Black Wall Street Online, to respect and understand why now you all know, especially you all know why the name is Black Wall Street. But it's also to break that negative mindset that we have been conditioned to believe with the Black fist, and that is negative. For me, here, you're talking to the owner and the founder. It's not negative. This came to me out of prayer, and it's all about bringing unity across cultures, and we're about supporting one another. Those avenues, that's what we are about. So if you have a business, and especially the youth, we have so many talented youth out there. Hey, bring them our way. Let them know what it is that we do, and just let us know. We help them. We'll try to get them on that path. So yeah, that's basically what it is. And yeah, so that's it. I mean, we're working on a foundation as well. The foundation is geared towards, of course, the youth, veterans. My husband is a vet, and the prison reform. So helping those that are coming out of the system. That's what we're about. So yeah.
So I'm going to just share the screen real quickly if I can and show everybody. I think you can see it. Can you see it, Juanita?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so that's the link tree. So I'll put the link in the chat again. So everybody can click on it, share it, support Juanita, her mission. But you've got the social, you've got historical content, you got host events, Subscribe to the YouTube channel, the website. I want to take us to the website, show everybody what that looks like. Super cool. And then you've got, ways to be a business, whether you sponsor or you host your own business on there, interview. And then there was something else. You have merchandise too, right? I wanted to.
Yes, right
There it
there.
is. Yep. So really cool. There's shirts, there's some really cool books, some swag, some really cool hats.
Yeah.
So, there's something for everyone. Oh, I didn't see the apron before. And these shirts are just, I love the emblem. Yeah, really beautiful. So definitely please consider supporting Juanita. If you know any businesses who are owned by BIPOC, et cetera. I mean, Juanita said, I'm not closing the door to anybody. I think it would be wonderful if this could go large and be in charge.
Yeah, we just wanted to show people that we can come together. This is not, and I'll share this. I tried to, where I live, I tried to have events around for entrepreneurs. And people say to me, you need to change your logo. You need to change the name. And I'm like, why? I'm not doing that. This is what God had placed on me. So why would I do that? But it just showed, again, everything is systematically set. And they automatically see the logo and they're like, nope, it's bad. No, it's not. No, it's not. So,
I mean, you could ask somebody what to think about Brussels sprouts and somebody's going to say it's bad. And then you're going to ask several other people like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing since whatever, like so sliced bread. So yeah, you're never going to get, no one is ever going to be fully happy, right? And if you're getting that calling, you follow that calling. And that's your message to people out there that I heard earlier. It's like, trust your own intuition, your own self-love, and obviously it's hard to say that knowing that there's some people whose intuition is hate. But at the same time, everybody's in a different place. Everyone's in a different place.
and that is so true. But it doesn't hurt me none. It just shows me that they're stuck in that mindset of not just keeping people out. But you're not just keeping Black people out. You're keeping people out.
It affects everyone.
Yep.
So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna say goodbye to people on Facebook. We're gonna say goodbye to people who are in the recording, and then we're gonna give an opportunity. Goodbye, Facebook. I'm gonna stop.